As the year 2023 dawns, our appreciation goes out to you in recollection of the work we've done together in the African Academy of Languages, ACALAN, in the pursuit of our common objective to develop and promote African languages in the context of the African Union's Language Plan of Action for Africa. We are cognizant of the partnership with the languages inherited from Africa's colonial past: English, French, Portuguese, and Spanish, that have hitherto assumed the function of medium of development in most African countries. It is now self-evident that the use of both African languages and partner languages will guarantee that knowledge relevant for development is available and accessible to the vast majority of our people who use one or both categories of languages for their daily needs. However, the use of only these foreign official languages means that available knowledge for development is accessible only to a minority of approximately 40% who have a reasonable level of functional knowledge of these languages. This means that the majority of Africans, about 60%, who use uniquely or essentially an African language, will thus be unwittingly marginalized and excluded in the development process. This is known to have been one of the major factors to the slow pace of realization of the United Nations Millennium Development Goals 2000-2015 and the current United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. This is the situation that the African Union seeks to redress via the instrumentality of the work of the African Academy of Languages, ACALAN, its specialized institution mandated to develop and promote African languages as factor of African integration and development. ACALAN's role is to provide technical support to the 55 member states of the African Union for the formulation and implementation of language policies and strategies of language development and use. In the effort to continue fulfilling its mandate, realize its objectives, and provide relevant guidance to policies favorable to the development and promotion of African languages, ACALAN has developed the Dar es Salaam Framework for Action as a collective commitment to action for governments of the member states of the African Union to ensure that Article 25 of the Constitutive Act of the African Union, previously Article 29 of the Charter of the Organization of African Unity, is implemented by promoting Kiswahili, an African language, as a working language of the African Union and a language of wider communication in Africa, and to promote other regional African languages like Arabic for North Africa, Lingala and Kikongo for Central Africa, Setswana, Chinyaji Chichewa, and isiZulu for Southern Africa, and Fulfulde, Hausa, and Mandenkan for West Africa. This commitment to enact the linguistic expression of the African Union's political will serves as a means of promoting the African identity and enable African people to make a place for themselves on the world stage. ACALAN officially launched the African Languages Week in Ouagadougou in July 2021 in collaboration with the government of Burkina Faso, following its adoption by the Third Specialized Technical Committee on Youth, Culture and Sports of the African Union in October 2018 in Algiers, Algeria, based on a proposal of the ACALAN Secretariat. The African Languages Week is a recurring rendezvous and major annual event to be held from 24 to 30 January that should be observed by all member states of the African Union to commemorate the relevance of African languages and cultures in Africa and the African diaspora as a special moment of the African identity and as a pathway of realizing Agenda 2063 of the African Union, specifically Aspiration 5, that promotes an Africa with a strong cultural identity, common heritage, shared values, and ethics. The African Languages Week aims also to increase awareness and appreciation of African languages by looking at pragmatic ways of empowering and rendering them relevant to the lives of Africans, to promote the dynamics of African worldviews and philosophies of life through the empowerment and use of African languages, and to demonstrate the indispensable role of African languages in promoting cooperation, integration, and fostering cohesion and sustainable peace and development of Africa. The African Languages Week Coordinating Committee was established by the Secretariat of ACALAN as a standing committee with a tenure of 2 years renewable only once. Its main role is to stimulate more dynamism for the development and promotion of African languages across the African continent and in the African diaspora by assisting the ACALAN Secretariat in the annual celebration and to ensure the smooth running of the activities of the African Languages Week by proposing the theme for each year and mobilizing resources, human, technical, and financial, for planning. The committee identified the theme for the second edition for this year 2023 as African Languages for Sustainable Food Security, Cultural and Socioeconomic Development for the Africa We Want, reflecting on the African Union's theme for the year 2022. In the same vein, the slogan for the year 2023 was set as "What we speak and what we eat makes Africa great," in line with the African Union theme for 2022, which is strengthening resilience in nutrition and food security on the African continent, strengthening agro-food systems, health and social protection systems for the acceleration of human, social, and economic capital development. The second edition for 2023 will be held in Dhaka in collaboration with the Directorate of Literacy and National Languages of the Ministry of National Education of the Republic of Senegal, which is ACALAN's national structure in the country. ACALAN has embarked on the Linguistic Atlas project, whose objectives are to determine precisely the number of African languages, their status, interrelation, and dialectical variations. The continental management structure of the project has been established, including the continental and regional coordinators and the national coordinating committees. The project has now progressed to the map production stage for West and some parts of East Africa. However, maps have been produced only for the United Republic of Tanzania due to lack of funds. More than 3 million terms have been harvested and processed for the Kiswahili Corpus Project, www.kiswahili-acalan.org, as a component of the African Languages and Cyberspace Program. The Corpus Project is being extended to other vehicular cross-border languages such as Betifan, Chinyanja Chichewa, Fulfulde, Hausa, Kikongo, Mandenkan, Setswana, Lingala, Somali, and Malagasy, which will provide a model for furthering the work across all African languages. To empower African languages more effectively, ACALAN has embarked on projects such as the Pan-African Center for Interpretation and Translation, whose aim is to train young Africans in the profession of translation and interpretation so as to enable African languages to become true working languages and languages of instruction in a multilingual context. Funds have not been provided for this project. Consequently, the project could not be relaunched last year and is therefore at a standstill. The ACALAN Interactive and Comprehensive Platform for African Languages, a radio station and a TV platform for African languages, sub-projects of the African Languages and Cyberspace Program to reach out to rural communities in their languages and promote the use of African languages will be launched during the course of 2023. On behalf of Her Excellency Ambassador Minata Samati Sisuma, Commissioner for Health, Humanitarian Affairs and Social Development of the African Union Commission, we wish to thank you for your availability and commitment to the cause of the revalorization, instrumentalization, and development of the use of African languages for inclusive development in Africa in the perspective of the African Union's Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. We invite you all to join this noble cause for humanity and patrimony. The implementation of the African Union's language policy within the context of the Language Plan of Action for Africa will inter alia ensure the democratization of access to knowledge in this age of knowledge economies and digitalization. This will lead to a better appropriation of science, technology, innovation, education, and culture as the foundations of the African Union's vision of an innovation-based and knowledge-driven development for Africa's emergence. We are encouraged by the vision of our founders and leaders and look forward to accomplishing and achieving even more with you this year and in the years ahead. African languages for a peaceful, prosperous, integrated, and healthy Africa. With all good wishes for a happy, peaceful, prosperous, and healthy New Year 2023, yours sincerely,